There is a moment in life when you look around and realize that no one is coming to save you. And that realization hits harder than any disappointment you have ever felt, because the truth is simple and uncomfortable. Your problems are yours alone, and the world is not built to pause its motion just because you are hurting. It is a shock that rattles the heart like cold water thrown on your face in the middle of the night, forcing you awake whether you are ready or not. You think people will understand your pain, and you think they will hold your hand through the darkness. But what you discover instead is that most people are too busy trying to carry their own storms, and in that moment you begin to feel the weight of every silent struggle you never wanted to face by yourself. Yet something powerful happens when you stop waiting for someone else to rescue you and you finally decide to rise on your own. That is when your character begins to sharpen and your strength begins to grow in places where you once saw only weakness. You start to understand that life does not reward those who complain about their problems. It rewards those who confront them privately with discipline and intention. Silence becomes a strange kind of armor that protects your dreams from the noise and negativity of the world. When you keep your struggles within you, they become seeds planted deep in the soil of your spirit, and with time they grow into a kind of resilience that no one can take away. You see, there is a reason the strongest people you have ever met rarely talk about what they have survived. They learned early that the world listens for entertainment, not for empathy. And if you give the world your wounds, it will not always give you healing in return. Sometimes your pain becomes gossip for someone else, and sometimes your vulnerability becomes a weapon in someone else's hands. That is why silence is not weakness, it is strategy. When you stop explaining every challenge and stop seeking validation for every hardship, you free your energy for something far more important, which is growth. Every problem you keep to yourself becomes a lesson no one else can rewrite. Every fear you silence becomes a step forward no one else can block. Every tear you hide becomes fuel that pushes you when your body says stop and your spirit says keep going. You begin to move differently because you no longer fight for anyone's approval, you fight for your future. And when you choose to rely on yourself, you begin to hear a voice inside you that was always there but too quiet to rise above the noise of the world. It is the voice that tells you to stand up again even when you are exhausted. It is the voice that reminds you that you were not born to remain stuck in the same pain you are trying to escape. It is the voice that tells you not to quit because your story is not finished yet. This voice becomes clearer when you stop talking about your problems and start working on them. Silent effort becomes louder than spoken excuses, and every day you push yourself quietly, you build a foundation that is unshakable. People will wonder how you survived. They will wonder how you kept going. They will ask where you found your strength. They will never know that the nights you spend fighting yourself were the nights that made you who you are. And in the middle of all this, something else happens, something you never expected. You start to trust yourself again. You stop questioning your worth, and you stop believing the lies your fears tried to make you accept. When you choose to face your struggles alone, you learn who you truly are without the world's opinions shaping your identity. You learn that courage is not loud confidence, it is quiet persistence. You learn that healing is not public performance, it is private disciplines. You learn that transformation is not the world noticing your progress, it is you noticing your progress and refusing to stop. Your silence becomes your strength, your privacy becomes your protection, and your resilience becomes your identity. This is the moment when life begins to shift. The moment you stop broadcasting your pain and start building your power. The moment you stop waiting for sympathy and start creating solutions. The moment you accept that your problems may be yours alone, but so is the greatness you are capable of. And once you understand that once you embrace the responsibility of your own battle, your entire world begins to change. The silence you feared becomes the silence that saves you, and the strength you thought you lost becomes the strength that leads you forward. When you decide to hold your struggles within yourself, something profound begins to take place inside you, because silence has a way of forcing you to confront the thoughts you once tried to avoid. There is no hiding behind excuses, and there is no running from distractions, because when the world grows quiet, you are left alone with the truth of who you are and who you need to become. Most people never experience that level of self-confrontation because they keep their problems loud enough for the world to hear, hoping someone else will come and fix the pieces they keep breaking. But the moment you stop expressing every difficulty and start observing yourself instead, your awareness sharpens and your mind begins to open in ways it never did before. You begin to understand that every problem you have is a teacher disguised as a burden. Every hardship is a classroom, and every struggle is a lesson written specifically for your growth. No one else can sit in that class for you. No one else can take that exam on your behalf. And when you finally acknowledge that truth, you become the kind of person who grows not because life becomes easier, but because you become stronger. There is a transformation that happens when you keep your battles private, because privacy protects the fragile stages of your development. Just like seeds need darkness before they break through the soil, your growth needs silence before it becomes visible. People often expose their problems too early, hoping for validation or advice, but instead they end up receiving doubt from those who do not understand their journey. They receive opinions from people who have never walked their path. They receive negativity from people who do not want to see them rise. That negativity starts to shape their decisions, and that doubt influences their spirit. And before they know it, they abandon the very goals they once believed in. But when you choose silence, you remove all that noise. You give yourself space to fail without judgment and space to rise without interruption. You give yourself room to breathe and reflect and rebuild. You begin to learn how to walk without leaning on anyone else, because silence becomes your foundation. And in that silence, you start discovering a discipline you never knew you were capable of. You begin to realize that motivation is temporary, but discipline is permanent. Discipline is the quiet engine that keeps your life moving even when your heart feels tired and your mind feels heavy. Discipline is what pushes you out of bed when your problems feel too big. Discipline is what keeps you moving forward when no one is watching. And the more you rely on your own discipline, the more you stop depending on the world for emotional rescue. You begin to rise with a different kind of confidence. It is not the loud confidence that needs applause. It is the silent confidence that does not need to announce anything, because it prepares in private and proves in action. You start respecting yourself in ways you never did before, because you are no longer someone who quits when life gets uncomfortable. You become someone who follows through even when the path is filled with obstacles. As you continue to keep your challenges private, you begin to notice something else that surprises you. You start becoming more selective with whom you share your journey, because you realize not everyone deserves access to your struggle. Not everyone has the right to hear your fears, and not everyone is capable of carrying your truth with integrity. You understand that some people do not support you because they cannot imagine you becoming more than they ever believed you could be. Some people do not cheer for you because your growth forces them to confront their own lack of effort. And some people pretend to care only to satisfy their curiosity about your pain. When you keep quiet, you protect yourself from these hidden intentions. You protect your dreams from being contaminated by doubt, and you protect your spirit from being drained by people who are not meant to walk with you. Silence becomes your filter, and it shows you clearly who is genuine and who is simply entertained by your struggle. With time, you begin to realize that keeping your problems private is not about isolation. It is about elevation. It is about leveling up without announcing every step. It is about building a life that reflects your strength without needing approval from anyone. Silence makes you strategic. Silence makes you focused. Silence makes you intentional. You stop wasting energy explaining your goals to people who do not share your vision, and you stop wasting time defending your dreams to people who do not have dreams of their own. You pour every ounce of energy into becoming the best version of yourself, and slowly you start to notice changes in your life that no one can deny. Your mind becomes sharper, your actions become cleaner, your decisions become wiser. You move with purpose instead of emotion, and you walk with clarity instead of confusion. You begin to trust yourself so deeply that the opinions of others no longer control your direction. And perhaps the greatest reward of staying private is the peace that comes with it. You discover a calmness that cannot be shaken by gossip or discouragement, because your path belongs to you and only you. You learn to move in silence and let your results speak on your behalf. You learn to grow in private and let your success appear when it is ready. People will eventually see your progress, but they will never understand your process, and that is exactly how it should be. Because your process is sacred, and your pain is personal, and your growth is yours alone. And as you continue to walk this road of quiet determination, you will realize that holding your problems within yourself was never about hiding your truth. It was about protecting your power until you were strong enough to rise without needing anyone to lift you. There comes a time when the silence you once feared starts becoming the very space where you rebuild yourself piece by piece. And it is in that space that you realize how much power you have been giving away your whole life without even noticing it. You begin to understand that every time you shared your struggles with people who did not value your vulnerability, you handed them a part of your strength. Every time you exposed your pain to someone who only listened out of curiosity, you weakened your own resolve. Every time you expected someone to understand the battle in your heart, you invited disappointment into your life. But when you choose to walk forward with your pain held quietly within you, something begins to shift. You start regaining the power you lost. You start taking responsibility for your emotions and for your decisions. And that sense of responsibility becomes the beginning of a new version of you. A version that does not seek sympathy. A version that does not crave validation. A version that knows that true strength is born in solitude long before it blooms in the light. As you continue to live with quiet determination, you start to notice that the world has a strange way of respecting those who respect themselves. People who once doubted you begin to observe your progress from a distance. People who underestimated your resilience start to rethink their assumptions. They see a different kind of fire in your eyes because you are no longer controlled by fear. You are no longer shaken by setbacks. You are no longer shaken by setbacks. You are no longer distracted by the noise around you. Instead, you walk with a sense of clarity that many people only dream of. And that clarity comes from the simple truth that you no longer share every thought and every struggle with the world. You move with intention, and your silence becomes a shield that protects you from opinions that never mattered in the first place. You learn that the world can misjudge your words, but it cannot misjudge your actions, and the more you stay quiet, the louder your results become. There is something incredibly powerful that happens when you stop relying on others to understand your pain. You begin to trust yourself in ways you never imagined. Trust is built in silence. It is built in the moments when no one is applauding you. It is built in the moments when no one knows how hard you are trying. It is built in the moments when you fall and stand up again without announcing the struggle to anyone. These silent victories build a foundation inside you that no disappointment can destroy. You start walking with a confidence that does not come from people cheering for you, but from you cheering for yourself. You begin to understand that the world rewards consistency more than noise. It rewards dedication more than explanations, more than noise. And it rewards those who show up every day even when their heart feels heavy. When you commit to your growth in silence, you transform into someone who cannot be stopped because your strength does not depend on recognition. It depends on discipline. And somewhere along this journey of private battles and personal growth, you begin to discover something deeper. You realize that silence is not just a tool for protection, but a mirror for reflection. It shows you who you are without the influence of the world. It shows you what you fear and what you cling to. It shows you what you truly want and what you must let go of. In silence, you face your past with honesty and your future with courage. You see your mistakes not as failures but as instructions. You see your fears not as walls but as doors you have not yet opened. You begin to understand that the pain you carry is not designed to break you but to strengthen you from the inside. Silence teaches you how to sit with your discomfort until it becomes clarity. It teaches you how to breathe through stress until it becomes strategy. It teaches you how to breathe through stress until it becomes strategy. And this purpose becomes the driving force that pushes you forward even when you feel like giving up. As you continue this process of silent transformation, you become more grounded and more intentional about the life you want to build. You start realizing that every problem you have is shaping you into someone you never thought you could be. The challenges that once felt unbearable now feel like stepping stones. The setbacks that once made you doubt yourself now make you more determined. The moments that once broke your spirit now strengthen your resolve. You understand that your journey is not supposed to be loud because the strongest storms do not make announcements. They simply reshape the landscape. And that is exactly what is happening inside you. Life is reshaping you. Hardship is refining you. Silence is rebuilding you. And with every quiet step forward, you become more focused on your mission and more aligned with the person you are meant to become. What you learn through this silent journey is a lesson many people never understand. You learn that real growth does not need an audience. Real progress does not need applause. Real transformation does not need validation. When you decide to keep your problems to yourself and face them with strength and discipline, you become unstoppable because you are no longer fighting for approval. You are fighting for your future. You are fighting for your peace. You are fighting for the life you know you deserve. And that fight is not something you broadcast to the world. It is something you commit to every single day with quiet determination. You rise quietly. You grow quietly. You heal quietly. And one day, without warning, the world will see a version of you they never expected. A version built in silence. A version shaped by resilience. A version strengthened by every private battle you refuse to lose. There is a stage in your journey when silence stops being something you practice and starts becoming something you embody. It becomes a natural part of who you are and how you navigate the world. And in that stage, you begin to feel a shift inside you that is impossible to ignore. You start realizing that the less you speak about your problems, the more you learn about yourself. You begin to understand that strength is not built by shouting your struggles to the world, but by holding your head high while carrying a weight no one else can see. You walk differently because you are no longer controlled by external noise. You think differently because you are no longer influenced by the opinions of those who do not walk your path. You move differently because your actions are guided by clarity rather than fear. This is when silence stops feeling like a burden and starts feeling like a superpower. This is when you wake up in the morning with a sense of purpose that does not depend on anyone else. You look at your reflection not for validation, but for confirmation that you are still pushing forward. You face your challenges with a maturity that only comes from fighting battles alone and surviving them. With time, you begin to recognize the difference between people who truly care about your growth and people who only care about knowing your business. Silence exposes intentions in a way words never can. When you stop talking about your problems, you begin to see who checks on you without being asked. You see who supports you without needing details. You see who stays close even when they do not know what you are going through. Those people become rare, but they also become precious, because loyalty is not proven when people know everything about you. It is proven when they choose to stand beside you, even when you share nothing at all. And then there are the others who disappear the moment you stop providing emotional entertainment. They vanish when you stop sharing your pain. They drift away when you stop updating them on your struggles. Silence reveals who was with you for the drama and who was with you for the journey. And when that realization hits you, you stop chasing people and start cherishing solitude. You stop expecting loyalty from the wrong crowd and start investing in the person who will never abandon you, which is yourself. As your relationship with silence deepens, you also begin to develop a relationship with patience. You learn that growth is not something you rush. Healing is not something you force. Everything meaningful in life takes time, and your silence becomes the soil where your patience grows. You realize that the world is addicted to instant gratification, which is why so many people quit when life gets hard. They want progress without struggle. They want results without sacrifice. They want comfort without discipline. But when you choose to deal with your problems quietly, you learn the value of slow and steady improvement. You understand that every small step matters even when no one sees it. You realize that the energy you invest in your growth today becomes the strength you rely on tomorrow. You stop comparing your progress to anyone else because you finally understand that your path is unique. Your timing is unique, your purpose is unique, and your silence allows you to grow at your own pace without feeling pressured by the expectations of the world. There is also a profound mental transformation that begins to take place in this phase of your journey. When you stop talking about your struggles, you begin to spend more time thinking about solutions instead of problems. Your mind becomes clearer because it is no longer cluttered with external opinions. You start recognizing patterns in your behavior. You start understanding your emotional triggers. You start identifying the habits that hold you back. And instead of seeking someone to listen to your problems, you start working on the behaviors that create them. This internal awareness becomes a form of wisdom that guides everything you do. You begin planning your moves with intention. You begin choosing your battles with maturity. You begin speaking less and observing more. And in that silence, you discover that the greatest power you possess is your ability to adapt and grow. You learn that when you change internally, your entire external reality begins to shift. You begin attracting opportunities that align with your discipline. You begin inspiring people without saying a single word. You begin commanding respect simply by the way you carry yourself. As this quiet evolution continues, you start to see the world differently. You no longer waste time explaining yourself to people who do not understand your vision. You no longer argue with people who refuse to see things from your perspective. You no longer defend your decisions to individuals who have never built anything of their own. Your silence becomes your boundary. It protects your energy from negativity and shields your focus from distraction. You become so grounded in who you are and what you are building that the noise around you loses its power. You stop reacting impulsively. You stop responding emotionally. You stop getting frustrated by things that once disturbed your peace. Instead, you choose to rise above every unnecessary battle. You choose to walk away from conflicts that drain your spirit. You choose to put your effort only into the things that matter. This level of self-control is not easy to attain, but once you reach it, you become unstoppable. And perhaps the most beautiful part of this journey is the realization that silence does not mean isolation. It means elevation. It means rising above your old patterns. It means rising above your old patterns. It means building your character in a way that cannot be shaken by opinions or judgments. Because the truth is simple. You cannot reach your highest potential if you are constantly seeking comfort from others. You cannot build a powerful future if you are always explaining your pain. You cannot become the strongest version of yourself if you keep telling the world your every weakness. Growth requires privacy. Strength requires solitude. Transformation requires solitude. Transformation requires silence. And once you learn to embrace that silence, not as punishment, but as preparation, you become someone the world cannot ignore. Someone who rises without noise, someone who grows without applause, someone who becomes unbreakable. Because every battle you faced in silence shaped you into a warrior forged by discipline, protected by faith, and driven by purpose. There eventually comes a point in your journey when everything you have endured in silence starts to make sense, and all the pieces you once struggled to understand begin to align in a way that reveals the person you were always meant to become. You look back at the moments when you felt alone, and you realize those moments were preparing you for a future that required strength, not sympathy. You begin to understand that every private battle you fought taught you discipline. Every quiet tear you wiped became resilience. Every silent step forward became progress. You see that the person standing here today is not the same person who once begged the world to understand their pain. You are someone who faced storms without announcing them. You are someone who stood up without witnesses. You are someone who rebuilt themselves without applause. And that kind of strength is rare in a world that constantly tells you to broadcast every emotion. When you figured you found power in the very thing people fear, which is silence, and now that silence has become your greatest teacher. When you look at your journey from this higher point, you begin to realize that privacy did more than protect your problems. It protected your potential. It allowed you to evolve without interruption and grow without the pressure of expectations. You begin to see clearly how many distractions you avoided simply because you chose not to share every detail of your life. You avoided unnecessary opinions. You avoided judgment from people who never walked your path. You avoided the emotional traps that come from seeking external validation. And because of that, you grew faster, deeper, and stronger. You became more intentional with your goals. You became more selective with your circle. You became more protective of your energy. You learned that not everyone needs to know your dreams because some people will doubt them, and some people will envy them, and some people will try to talk you out of them. Silence keeps your dreams safe until they are strong enough to stand on their own. And when your dreams finally do stand, when your hard work begins to show, when your life begins to shift in visible ways, people will think it happened overnight. They will see the transformation, they will see the results, they will see the glow in your eyes, but they will never see the nights you spent strengthening your spirit. They will never see the battles you fought in your mind. They will never see the choices you made to keep going when quitting felt easier. They will not know how many times you stood up alone. They will not know how many times you pushed forward without encouragement. They will not know how much you invested in your own growth long before anyone saw the outcome. That is the beauty of moving in silence. People admire the success, but they never witness the struggle. They respect the result, but they never learn the sacrifice. And that is why your silence becomes your advantage. It hides the work, but reveals the greatness. As you continue to grow, you start to understand something even more powerful. You learn that your problems were never meant to break you. They were meant to build you. They were meant to shape your character. They were meant to deepen your understanding of yourself. They were meant to prepare you for the opportunities that require emotional maturity and inner strength. You begin to see that the silence you embraced did not isolate you. It elevated you. It made you sharper. It made you more aware of your own abilities. It made you more connected to your purpose. It taught you that the strongest version of you does not need recognition from the world, but alignment with yourself. Would say, "Mot mat with," and once you reach that level of awareness, the noise around you stops mattering. The opinions of others stop controlling you. The doubts inside you lose power. You begin walking with the confidence of someone who knows exactly what they want and exactly who they are becoming. Now you stand at a point where you understand the truth that most people never realize. Your problems are yours alone, but so is your power. Your journey is your responsibility, but so is your transformation. Your pain may be personal, but so is your purpose. It is not the world's job to struggle. What is not the world's job to understand it is your job to rise above it. And you have proven that you can. You have proven that silence did not weaken you. It strengthened you. It prepared you for a life that requires courage, discipline, and consistency. And as you move forward, remember that the world will not always clap for you, but your progress does not need applause. Your growth is the reward. Your discipline is the proof. Your transformation is the proof. Your transformation is the victory. You are becoming someone who no longer needs to announce their goals because your actions speak with a volume that words could never match. And with every silent step you take, you move closer to the life you deserve. A life built by your own strength, a life shaped by your own choices, a life earned by your own resilience. And now that you have walked through the fire of your own journey, here is your moment of choice. If you want to continue growing, if you want to rise even higher, if you want to keep becoming stronger every day, then this path of self-improvement does not end here. This is only the beginning, and the next step belongs to you. So before you move to the next challenge, make sure you stay connected with the very source that fuels your motivation and pushes you toward greatness. If you found strength, purpose, or clarity in this message, then make sure you support this journey. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on the bell notification so you never miss our next motivational video. Your growth deserves consistency, your purpose deserves attention, and your future deserves every bit of strength you are building right now. Stay focused, stay disciplined, stay silent when you need to, and keep becoming the strongest version of yourself.